There's a version of this story where Nisha Acharya never becomes a doctor at all. She's a violinist, a serious one, the kind who could have made her career out of it. Somewhere along the way, she chose a different instrument, medicine, and the field of uveitis is the better for it. If you've treated a patient with non-infectious uveitis in the last 5 years, you've almost certainly used what she taught us. The FAST trial, first-line antimetabolites for steroid-sparing treatment, was hers. She designed it, she ran it, she pulled together sites in India, Mexico, Australia, Saudi Arabia, and across the United States. And when it published in JAMA in 2019, it rewrote what we thought we knew about methotrexate and mycophenolate. A drug most of us assumed was second best turned out not to be. That kind of trial doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone is willing to spend 7 years making it happen. And she didn't stop there. The ADJUST trial asking whether children with juvenile idiopathic arthritis-associated uveitis can ever safely stop their adalimumab just published in The Lancet. The answer, it turns out, is humbling. Most of them can't. That's the kind of finding that changes how we counsel families in clinic on a Monday morning. She's also one of the few people in our field who can move fluently between a randomized trial in rural Tamil Nadu and a claims-based database analysis of millions of patients in the United States. Her work on the zoster vaccine, showing it actually prevents herpes zoster ophthalmicus in the real world, is the kind of evidence that should be reshaping public health guidance. She is the director of the Uveitis Service at the Proctor Foundation, the immediate past president of the American Uveitis Society, and, as of last year, an inducted member of the American Ophthalmological Society. She has been continuously funded by the NIH for 19 years. She has mentored a generation of fellows and junior faculty, many of whom now lead programs of their own. But her CV isn't really why we're here. We're here because behind all of that is a person, the daughter of immigrants, a clinician who still sees patients every week, a mentor who picks up the phone years after fellowship ends, a violinist who chose a different stage, and today she's sitting across from me and from my co-host, Dr. Jessica Shantha. Dr. Nisha Acharya, welcome.
Thank you, John and Jessica. I'm really don't know what to say about that introduction.
It was amazing. I'll say it.
I'm exhausted. You have so many accomplishments.
I've never had that kind of an introduction. That's extremely nice. Thank you.
Well, you're quite accomplished. So it was a pleasure writing. So one of the things that we wanted to do, and the purpose of this series, is again to get to know our uveitis specialists. They are real people. They've been through real challenges in life, but they also have unique features that a lot of us never get to know. And so that's the purpose of today's talk and chat. So one of the things that has always interested me about you is your history of violin playing. So I wanted you to take us back to the moment that you realized you weren't going to be a professional violinist. Was there something that happened, and how did that all come about?
Okay, you're going to take me back many years. I was not expecting music to be any part of this interview, right? I think a lot of people don't even know that that's something that was part of my life, right? In such a serious way. So I started playing violin when I was 6 years old. My parents, they're from India. They're immigrants. They did not think about music or anything like that, and didn't really know much about classical music or Western classical music, and they're not musicians. But they said that I kept on asking to play the cello. And for some reason, I had heard a cello and I wanted to play cello, and they just thought it was going to be very big, and I was not a big person. I'm not
You're petite.
But especially at age 6, and they didn't think that I'd be able to manage that. And so they're just I think they said, okay, what about violin? And, we were living in upstate New York, actually. So, it was really rural, actually, really, really rural. And they kind of made it happen, right? And found a teacher, and I was so young, and I just really loved it. And I think I was really serious about it from that point on. I think early on I got to play with a lot of really amazing individuals in orchestras and in groups, many of them who are professional, very famous musicians now. and I remember back, and they were really amazing back then. But there was a time when I was able to hang with those people, but it was when I was really young.
Yeah.
I would say by the time I got to high school, I was still very serious about music. I was playing in the Chicago Youth Symphony.
Right.
We were living in the Chicago area at that time. And that was a really great group. It was hard to get into. There's a lot of people in there who are professional musicians now. So I was able to be there, but I knew, I think I knew that even though I loved music, I knew that it would be a really hard path. And I also loved school. I loved science. I loved all my subjects in school. And I saw, I was putting more and more time into school and creative projects related to scholarly activities. And I was still trying to keep up music. But I'll tell you, the truth is that there were people who were just so amazingly talented and so just beyond, what I could ever imagine myself doing. And I realized, I love music, but I think I'm going to be happy having it be a hobby, listening to music, supporting people who are that amazingly talented. I think I felt comfortable with that role.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go to a music conservatory or anything at that point. I went to Stanford, and I played in the Stanford Symphony, in college, and still continued to play. And it's continued to be a hobby. I would say it's been up and down throughout my life. I've had periods of life where I haven't touched it, and then I feel bad about it and I want to, and then I go back to it. It's sort of an up and down, kind of a crazy relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that I had that. I think it taught me, it's really hard. Honestly, it was actually, I think I was harder playing violin than than other things that I've done in my life. But it's a good reminder of just, you just have to be persistent and work hard, and you can make progress with it.
Right.
And I think I carried that with me. And I love to listen to music. I listen to all kinds of music. I love to go watch concerts and performances. So I take that with me now.
You think that pursuing medicine would have been harder, or you had some kind of insight that that pursuing music would have been harder than pursuing medicine?
Well, okay, so music is really a tough world, right? It's just so uncertain. And I really admire people who just feel that that is all that they want to do in life and they go for it. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
But the truth is there are so many people who are amazingly talented who never can achieve, what they would have dreamed to in music.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to be realistic about it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue it. I really, to this day, admire people who will go that route because they feel compelled to. I think that, I think I saw that I was drawn more into other things as well. And I wasn't all into music. I think you have to be all in to go that path.
Do you think there's similar parallels between music and medicine? Are there things that are very similar that you find rewarding that you think they share?
Yeah. So, I think what I've noticed is that there's a lot of people in medicine who have very strong music backgrounds, who are very serious musicians. I've seen that. And I think that, I think it's interesting. It's actually an interesting observation. I think that some of the qualities that lead to success in music and passion in music are ones that can make you a very successful doctor. Several things. First is just hard work, persistence, patience. Because often in music, things don't happen overnight, and you just have to, there's ups and downs, and you have to be patient and just put in the work. But also it's very, it's collaborative, especially if you play in groups and orchestras. It's about team. It's about coming together with people to create a uniform sound or some sort of vision, like executing a vision. It's not just about yourself. Right. You have your individual aspirations, but you're also able to come together to achieve something bigger. So I think, those kinds of qualities
That's really
help.
amazing, because that's actually what you do every day.
Right.
In terms of your research teams, you're really bringing
That's
people
true.
together and executing a vision with some of the projects that you've been involved in. So it's a really interesting, insightful parallel, I think.
I think you're right. I don't think I'd been thinking about it, but I think you are right. That that's sort of the same idea.
Yeah. And music is also so emotional, which probably helps you connect on some level with your patients, right?
Yeah. So I think music is very emotional for me. Even to this day, if I hear certain pieces of music or certain things, it can elicit very strong emotions that I can't control. I feel it. And that's the power of, music. I think it allows you to, music is designed to kind of tap into your humanity and to elicit that, right? That's the point of it. If it's compelling or great piece of music. And I think it allows you to kind of really connect with your emotions, to think about that, right? To think about life, think about how you're feeling. And that I bring that right into my clinical practice. I think I think about that in every patient encounter, about not just what's going on and what I see from a medical standpoint, but also I think about what's going on emotionally, and I address it. I bring it out into the open.
Yeah.
For sure. I think we both worked with you and can vouch for that.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to see that. Yeah, it's easy to see that you're passionate about being there with your patients. I had the opportunity to meet your parents, I think it was about a year ago, which was one of the highlights of my life. Goodness. Your parents are amazing.
That's so funny.
What did your parents think you were going to become? Did they have any
thoughts?
I
mean, they're not physicians, right? But they both are. My mom taught in high school, like high school science, and my dad is a basic science. He's a chemist, and was involved in drug development. He has a pharmaceutical chemistry background. And so they loved science. So I think that was obviously an influence, but they never pressured me to do anything. There were no doctors in our family, and I have a brother, and he did not go into medicine. They always just said, just find what you want to do and just pursue it. Like, just be true to yourself. And so they were really, I'm very grateful that they allowed me to have that freedom. But I had a lot of science exposures. I think my dad, it was in Texas, so we lived in a lot of different places. But I think I was 11 or 12. 12, I was in Chicago, so probably 10 or 11. And he bought me a microscope. And I remember to this day, he's like, I think that was a good use of money. It was kind of expensive, you know? But I really loved it. Like, I started looking at it and everything. And cool. It was just something that he purchased, like a little microscope.
Yeah.
But
my dad did the same thing to all the grandkids. Yeah, he wants
really?
them to have
I
a
actually had
microscope.
the same story.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. But he didn't do it for us, but he did it for the grandkids. He wants all of them to have a microscope.
That's interesting.
It's just like one of these things, right? But I think so. I had exposures to science. I got interested in that early on. But I think for me, and so I think like many of us probably who have scientific backgrounds, we've worked in labs, right? We've done basic science. We've done various things as part of our training and internships. But I think I was much more drawn to the application of science to patients and clinical research and clinical care. Even though I grew up around lab scientists, I think and I think it's really exciting and really important. I didn't gravitate as much to that. I get very excited by very much with research that I see a direct and quicker application to patient care.
When did you sort of make the decision to go into medicine? Like, was that at Stanford?
Yeah.
And was that early on, or?
I think, the good thing at Stanford is that you don't have to really decide. You can take a variety of classes. But I was a biology major, so I guess I wasn't, and you don't have to declare, pre-med. But I took a lot of different classes in a lot of different areas because I still, I liked everything. And I wasn't committed at that point. But I would say, through Stanford over the years, I think I realized, because there were a lot of opportunities at Stanford to get, to have different experiences. And I actually was working a lot on women's health and helped actually start a women's health promotion unit, which was actually looking at kind of women. It was through OBGYN, but it was looking at things like chronic pain and other issues that aren't dealt with typically. So I think I must have been drawn already back then. And I was doing it with my freshman roommate. She also went into medicine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And
we both, had the same mentor, and it was great because we got to work together on it and work on, really opening this clinic at Stanford within the department. But it was a great, it was good.
It's a really cool experience to be involved in that type of work. And really meaningful.
And so I think that was a pretty formative experience. Obviously, it's nothing to do with what I'm doing now in uveitis, but that's another point. But
similarities here, some
chronic care.
So then you come to UCSF for med school, and then how do you get interested in ophthalmology or even uveitis?
Yes, I was not thinking ophthalmology at all. I think, I was working on, on women's health. And I didn't know actually what I was going to do at all. But so it was my first year. And medical education's changed a lot now, right? So I don't know, it's changed. But back then, In medical school, we had just a lot of traditional classes, and we had physiology, and then you would have small group sections with faculty. And we had a small group section on the eye and vision, and just learning like basic pathways of vision. And this was as a first year. And that section, my section leader was Emmett Cunningham, who was faculty at the time here at the Proctor Foundation. Wow. He was head of the Uveitis Clinic, UCSF faculty, and he was a great teacher. He was. Wow. Yeah. And actually he's a good teacher. He is. Yeah. And there were a few of us in that section that got very inspired by him. Oh, wow. And we all went into ophthalmology actually because of him. Yeah, it wasn't just me. He really, and I would say he was a great teacher. We didn't know much. And he said, if you are interested in talking further, exploring opportunities for research, I have a bunch, because we had the summer off between first and second year. Right. And so I went and talked to him about it, about what the opportunities were, because he had an invitation for the section to do it. And then I started working with him that summer, and that continued, through the rest of medical school. And he was doing work on, he's uveitis, so he's doing work on, at that time, was working on HIV and the complications of HIV in the eye, a lot at the county, at San Francisco General Hospital. And so it was mostly chart review kind of stuff. It was clinical research. I remember that he handed me this paper by Doug Jabs and said, Doug Jabs, this is like the best review, the best paper on, AIDS and HIV in the eye. This should be what you emulate. Like this, maybe someday, like this is, what you should strive for.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember this is amazing. It was a thing. And he handed that to me. I remember, like, this is a good model, like, for what you should achieve, when you're doing research. So, yeah. So it's kind of interesting to think about, right? Because obviously I work with Doug and with everyone now all the time, right? We all are very close colleagues. And, it's funny to think about, right, that this is decades later. Because who would have dreamed, right, of that? But, I started working with him. And then also Emmett was a faculty at Proctor, and he was doing a lot of global ophthalmology, and I was able to go to Aravind Eye Hospital as a medical student. And that was amazing. And actually studying ocular leprosy and with Dr. Rathanam, who is still there, and he's the head of the Uveitis Clinic is what they call it there. And so, that was pretty amazing as a medical student.
Yeah, that's like
what was your experience like going to this totally different hospital that's quite unlike anything that we have?
I'd never been there. I'd never been to South India. I mean, I'm of Indian origin, but I'd never been.
Is that the first time you went to India?
I'd been to India, but never to South India. Yeah. And I went alone actually on that trip, and we don't normally send students alone now. We send them with people from kind of. But actually
figured it out on your own.
I mean, I remember he said, make sure that you check for bed bugs and check for this and like all these warnings, all that stuff. But I went as a medical student, and then there were other people from Proctor, actually Tom Liebman and others who were doing research there that ended up being there. I wasn't working with them directly, but I ended up meeting a lot of other faculty. And so it was great. So there were people there who I knew, and everyone was really welcoming.
And you were a med student at this
medical
point?
student.
Medical student.
I'm not done, a medical student. So I'm not an ophthalmologist. I'm not even an ophthalmology trainee.
It's crazy now to think that you are now at Proctor.
And I know.
And you and Tom
Isn't it crazy?
see each other every day.
Yes.
And Emmett is just down the street. And anyways.
Tom remembers me from this time. He remembers talking to me because I was still debating about whether to apply in ophthalmology my fourth year. I remember we met at Daily Dose, which was like a little cafe down the street. It's not there anymore, from the old Proctor. And like he's like, because I wouldn't work with him directly, but he was quite junior at the time. He was on faculty, I think, or he had finished his clinical fellowship and was doing some extra fellowship years in mathematical modeling and things like that, and coming onto faculty with a K. But I wasn't sure. I was really thinking about applying in internal medicine because I still love internal medicine. And and a lot of the research that we were doing was heavily tied to medicine.
Yeah. Was there something that Tom said that like made the decision, or was it? how did you make that decision in the end?
Yeah, well, I don't know that I really meet it. It's hard because I applied. When I applied, I didn't apply in both. I mean, I applied to ophthalmology, but back then the internships were separate. You could apply to whatever internship you want. They weren't tied to the program, right? You could apply. You have to apply to a separate program.
It was like that for me too.
Yeah, it's only recently that it changed.
Coupled them together,
right? Where it's integrated. So you could choose if you did transitional or surgery or medicine. You could choose, the kind of institution that you wanted to go to. So I went to the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. So a very intense program for medicine. Yeah. I mean, I think I did that on purpose because I think subconsciously there was a chance that I still would have bailed on ophthalmology. I shouldn't say that. That would have been bad because I did match at Mass Eye, right? Massachusetts Eye and Ear. So yes, I was supposed to go there after a year, and I was planning to go. I was excited about it, but I was still. I tell you, even that intern year, which I loved, it's still a part of me was like, should I just forget about ophthalmology?
Was kind of like a little bit of a backup.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely
but it was like
went.
You matched. It was like the plan, but.
I planned. I didn't dual apply in a full, but I did go to, I went to a medicine program where I think if I had wanted to stay, but it was a full medicine internship, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy. With doing bone marrow transplants and doing everything. And I loved it. I really loved it. But anyway, I think that, I don't know, but I think it was, you can see the kind of people that I got mentored with are people who do appreciate ophthalmology beyond the eye, right? Yeah. Tom does work where it's very much tied to, to a lot of different things, right? Including not just, he's doing trachoma work, but looking at the impact of treatment on not that, but on more than that, life. Mortality, right? Yeah. And uveitis just by its nature, and you all know that because you we all do this. We see that every patient, we always are thinking about the rest of the body,
right? Yeah.
And what's going on. So I think I found that I wasn't committing to do uveitis, but I think it was that early influence, and I think that that's what drew me in. Yeah. I have to be honest. I don't know that I liked all of ophthalmology, but I don't know that I was passionate about the other parts of ophthalmology as much.
Yeah.
Really, to be honest, I think what really kept me in the field is that our field exists.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That was a similar sentiment that I had. Yeah, going through things. Interesting. So you've trained fellows from everywhere in the world. Is there anybody that has said something in their first week at Proctor that completely maybe reframed how you saw your own practice? Maybe, we have domestic fellows, but then we often have like a lot of international people that are with us. And so sometimes they see things through a different lens and point out things to us that we hadn't thought about our own practice. But has that ever happened to you?
This is a hard question, but I absolutely think that every fellow has brought something unique that I've learned from. There's no question, but it's been different things every single year. That's the whole beauty of training fellows is that, and now I feel this even more because now I'm, decades into this journey, and I realize that there's so many new things. And for instance, imaging has changed so much since I trained when we didn't have OCT in residency, or at least we weren't using it very much. Yeah. And then when I came here for fellowship to Proctor, we had I remember when we got the machine, right? It was the old Stratus. Time domain, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Called OCT. And it was so bad, like you could barely see them, the contour.
Right.
But it was amazing to see that. And I think that we're seeing there's so many new things happening. And so fellows all come in with their own unique interests, and especially I'm realizing more and more many of them will have had more experience with latest. Like for example, Jessica Shantha right here, who's your co-host, did a medical retina fellowship right before she came here to do uveitis, and so she had tremendous experience in imaging and OCT angiography.
Right.
I didn't learn how to use OCT angiography. I don't know that I still know. I still go to you guys all the time to really understand what we're seeing. John, I go to you. Yeah, but this is the thing, is that you realize there's things that are evolving in our field and that fellows bring in. They have this knowledge that they've learned. And especially there's lots of things that I didn't learn originally. So I've learned from many fellows. Some of them have come in after other fellowships. We've had retina, patients with retina. We have patients who come in who have done, AI research, who've done research on autoimmune retinopathy, like this year's fellow, all kinds of stuff. So I'm continuously trying to be open to learning, and I am learning. Yeah. I'm learning on the job.
So you like having fellows in clinic?
I do. I do. You know what? Yes, I will say more so than ever now that I've been, I think I realize this is really, first of all, I love still seeing the patients. I think that I will say it's not just that you get to train, fellows. There's something amazing about still each patient is unique and different and has their story, and it never gets old.
Yeah.
And it's so I love
complex,
it.
And it can sometimes be very crazy.
Yes, it does. But I actually really like that. I think that's really important, right? Even though most of my time now is research and early on it was more clinical, I really appreciate that time. And I think that's just a huge part of why, I keep on going in clinic. I really love those interactions a lot. But I also do love having fellows. I think, they're the future. And as you get older, you start thinking about that more. You start thinking about what's happening in the field. Yeah. You start seeing that people are bringing in lots of new ideas. And, I'm excited about that. You also see, I hope I can do this for quite a bit longer, but you just, you see that there's an end of the road, right, for each of us and what we're doing. It's very important to me that we are able to continue to grow in the field and have great leaders and great doctors, uveitis specialists who are going to provide great care for patients, but also move the field forward. I think the way to do that is in the way we train, right? If we are putting in 100% effort in our training of fellows, hopefully they'll be inspired. Yeah. So, and John, both of you, John and Jess, both of you do this in clinic, and that's one thing I love about Proctor and, being here is that's a huge part of our mission. Yeah. Both for international and for U.S. fellows.
Right. Yeah, I think you guys definitely do such a good job of really emphasizing that as part of the fellowship is really the training of the fellows and giving them time to really think. Yes. Because I think we're losing this ability to think and critically think and about patients and patient care.
I'm seeing that happening in medicine across the board, right? It's almost like it's just a formula or AI. Yeah. And AI, has a role. It is important, but I think we have this really unique opportunity in uveitis to still, I think, train and preserve a lot of the amazing aspects of medicine that are still, very, I think, critical to providing good care in uveitis. 100%. And we still have the luxury to still have more time with patients to think and not just, type in something into a machine to get an answer.
Yeah, that's important. Since you see so many patients, you've been seeing patients. How many years now have you been in clinical practice?
Since 2004. Okay. Yeah. Well, that counts my fellowship, but more
so
than
long
20
time.
Years.
You've seen a lot of different patients. Has there been one patient who you think maybe has changed your practice? Not one like where you've missed a diagnosis, but like somebody who maybe shifted how you think about being a doctor. Yeah.
I think, you always kind of reflect back, right? And there's definitely been situations, I think we get invested in all of our patients and want them to do well, but it's particularly when you see that things are very challenging and that you're trying your best, but you're not seeing things happen the way you want. That can be particularly challenging. And Jess will remember this, but there's patients where you do everything that you should, you do all the testing, you do all the treatments, you get opinions from people, and things aren't working well, right? And the patients are not doing well. This is not common. Usually we believe that we can do well, but I'm sure we've all had situations, right, where something happens, right, to a patient where they end up having something. And I know Jess and I, we shared a patient when she was a fellow of a patient who was young who ended up having lymphoma. Yeah. And nobody, this patient had seen tons of different uveitis specialists and had diagnostic fluid testing and everything, and, was not thought to have lymphoma even based on ocular fluid and the exam. And it turned out that, he had it, right? And we didn't know that for a while, right? We eventually figured it out after a while, but that patient passed very young, and I just remember, it's just a reminder that we never know, right, with our patients, that we always have to be thinking like, what, is this something else? What could this be? Yeah. that's the challenge. There's a challenge of uveitis that things don't fit always into neat packages or follow a textbook description. We continue to see that, right? There's so many entities in our field that are mysteries. And I think that's part of our job, is to continually think for our patients to try to figure out what they have. But, it was just, I remember, and there's other, situations like that. It just keeps me going. It makes me, it also reminds me that you can't take things for granted or just think it's easy. Yeah. No matter how many years you've been doing this, you have to be on your toes. You have to be thinking critically. You have to continually think throughout the course of treatment and reevaluate and consult with your colleagues. And just, that's, I think, really necessary.
Yeah, that's a special mindset, because I could see how it would be easy to get cynical and be frustrated that we have these medications or therapies that we didn't have before. Patients aren't getting better, they're getting worse, and it can be frustrating. Whereas other parts of ophthalmology, and often when residents apply, or when medical students are applying for residency, one of the things that attracts them to ophthalmology is that they can fix things. I can make somebody's vision better with a cataract surgery. I do retina surgery, their vision's better. But uveitis isn't always like that, and sometimes you try one therapy, it doesn't work, you go down the next therapy. So how do you stay positive, not like saccharin positive, but like motivated to help patients even when you face these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to learn from the things that haven't gone well, right? But you realize you have to think, I mean, you look back at the field and what it was some decades ago and the outcomes, right? They were published, you can find them, right, all over. And they were not great. They were pretty abysmal outcomes in terms of vision loss and blindness. And patients were mostly on steroids. And then, they were on alkylating agents. And then, so I think the field has evolved tremendously. I mean, it's amazing to be practicing in this day and age, right, where we have options. So I think, I just feel overall, I feel very optimistic about our ability, all of us, to be able to care for patients and have a good outcome. Yeah. Right. And I think we can really make a difference. You see that every day when we have patient care. Yeah. And I convey that to patients. Yeah. But I think I am very clear that we can't take things for granted, that I've learned that even when things are going well, the next day they might not be going well. Right. You may be doing well on a medication, and then you lose efficacy on that medication. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're facing new challenges. And I've had that. That's been particularly hard, right? Yeah. Where I've taken care of some patients since they were little children, and then at some point, 10 years later, 15 years later, somehow they lose efficacy with a biologic medicine. Their disease starts getting worse. They have, much more in the way of inflammation and complications, and you're all of a sudden scrambling to try all these new things. So it's just, the journey's never done. Yeah. Even if someone's in remission, they're not done. And I tell patients that I'm really, we can be happy and celebrate where we are now, but we cannot be overconfident that this is gone forever. Yeah. This is a continual life journey, and the goal is just to have as good life as you can, preserve vision, have as few restrictions as possible, right? So that you can live fully, but we have to continually be in the picture.
Right.
Yeah. I think I've seen just recently so many patients that are blind from uveitis, and they're young, and it's just striking. And I'm just,
this is at Emory when you're
and I'm just like, this is so
it's a reminder.
And it is I'm constantly reminded every day that, we have treatments actually now, just as you said, that the field has really evolved, and we can do something. I'm just like, let's get on the same team. We have to do this together really, because it is, that's the great thing about uveitis, though. We can diagnose, and a lot of things we can treat.
Yes.
And
I believe that. I believe that we can. I mean, I know certain times if there's permanent damage, we can't reverse that. But by and large, we can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's not a one and done where you just you have to continue to
to
be part of the
privilege.
It is.
It is. I really feel like
that's what I love. Is
I feel like we're gatekeepers.
I have I see little children, and they come in with their parents, and they decades ago, and then they grow up. And at some point, they go off. Some of them move away, but then they come back often during holidays. Yeah. Then their parents stop coming. Then they come alone. Then they come with a partner. Then they come with their children.
That's pretty cool.
I'm
you're
seeing
that
right now. Oh, but this is happening to me.
Yeah.
I have people, from the time they were little, and I remember their parents. Actually, some of I just had a parent of a patient just write me that they miss seeing me because they don't get to see me anymore, and asked if they could just come visit.
Hey, that's really sweet.
That's amazing.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, if they're, getting care at UCSF, can they come by the clinic? Because, sometimes they came for so many years with the child, but they're not really coming with their adult patient, child anymore.
That's really sweet.
So I think, it's very special to do that, right? Because other fields, you don't get to really do that as much.
No.
And we do that.
Yeah. That is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, we build lifelong relationships with these patients.
Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, when people read your papers, it looks nice and polished there. And often people don't know a lot of the background story, maybe the heartache that goes into these things. So, FAST took years before it got published in JAMA. Was there ever a moment that you thought it wasn't going to happen?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I was lucky to be at Proctor, right? I'm at a place here where there's great mentorship for clinical trials, specifically Tom Liebman, who is amazing in cornea trials and corneal ulcer trials and trachoma. And I learned a lot from him about design and all of that. But bottom line is when I finally was ready to kind of embark and I got my grant funding, right, to do my own trial, you think you've learned all the skill set and you're ready to go, but you can't control things, right, that happen. And we were just about to start, and then we got a letter from HHS, from Health and Human Services, which NIH is part of, saying that we couldn't enroll in India. And the FAST trial, the grant was to enroll in the U.S. and in India, but India was going to be enrolling most of the patients. Our pilot trial had been done in India, and we had really worked a lot to build that collaboration over years. And we needed them, frankly, to be able to do it. So then that letter came in, and there was not really any kind of way to go forward at that point. It was because of government rules in India, actually. So that was a big problem, and I had some real moments where I thought, wow, okay, I don't know, I'm gonna not have this grant.
Yeah.
But I will say, this is just a testament to National Eye Institute and our program officials. And I know all of you have NIH research where you have program officials. These are really dedicated individuals that care. And if a grant got funded or got a great score, they advocate to make it work.
Yeah.
And so it took a while. There was delays. It took, I think, almost 2 years for us to be able to work in India. But the program official, Don Everett, was truly amazing and, didn't give up and actually, encouraged me to expand to other centers while we were waiting and working out the situation in India, which we were able to navigate thanks to his help. I was able to kind of, make new partnerships with new countries, and that was, that's a good thing. So that was actually a silver lining that I learned how to do that and expand and have, new collaborations.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been lots of moments in research, which I'm sure we all experience, where you have moments of like, is this going to work?
Yeah, for sure.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
What do you look for, or how do you identify a trainee who is somebody that might be right for the clinician-scientist path, but maybe they don't recognize it themselves? Like, how do you approach that person?
Yeah, I actually think that's a great question, because I actually think, I was not, I didn't have a PhD. Some people do at Proctor and some don't, right? But we're all very serious researchers. So I don't think, it's a requirement. I think it just takes a very strong interest, and it takes a desire to put in the time to learn foundational research skills. And, you don't have to do it through a formal PhD program, but I think you have to realize that it's not going to just be like an automatic thing where you can just start doing research at a high level. You got to put in the time to learn from great mentors and learn foundational skills. So I think, if I see, and this can happen, this can happen at any stage. It can happen when you're just starting off your career, let's say fellowship or early junior faculty stage, but it could be at any stage. It can even happen for people who are further on in their careers, who are great clinicians who say, I've always had this desire to answer questions. I don't have research training. I don't believe that those individuals are precluded from being great researchers. And we have examples of that, right? Where we've seen, I think it just takes a desire. So I think if someone's curious, they ask questions, they are able to look at the literature and are curious about it. You see them asking questions about it, showing an interest. That's the perfect kind of person. And especially, as a clinician scientist, if you see somebody who is coming up with questions because of their clinical experience, that's just such a great gift, actually, to have, right? Because they're in clinic and they're asking like, oh, well, what do you think about this? Or do you think we could look at this? Some people do that. I've seen that. That's perfect. Those are exactly the kinds of people that... Inquisitive. And they're thinking and they're coming up with questions. Then beyond that, then I do think it takes the right mentorship and the right foundational skills. But I think that, you can, I think that people can do that if they want to, right? I think they can, they just have to realize that, it will take a little time. But then if you get those foundational pieces, then you're set to kind of, I think you're set to have the kind of career where you can be both.
I remember when you and Todd Margolis asked me to really think hard about what path I was taking. I don't know if you remember, but I was thinking, I can see Nisha being really. I was thinking I had my path already set, but I remember you.
I mean, John, you had been, just as an example, right? You were just finishing fellowship. Okay, so part of it is that I remember Todd basically was yelling at me after I finished my fellowship or finishing, saying, "What do you want to do? Like, you could do whatever, but what do you want to do? Like, what are you feeling? Because I was interviewing for clinical jobs." Kaiser, clinical academic jobs at other places, and then thinking about a research career here, sort of all over the place. I wasn't sure. And he just said, you got to really think of, you have to think deeply and be honest with yourself about what you want to do. There's not a right path. These are all good paths.
Right.
But John, you had done a Howard Hughes fellowship at NEI and, during your earlier, before you were an ophthalmologist. Yeah. And so, you were always curious, right? Like that's exactly an example. Jess too, right? Both of you, right? Yeah. Jess, you had done all this work. Yeah. It's just, you were naturally curious, inquisitive, and had this natural drive, and that's continued, right? So I think you see that in some individuals who have that. Yeah. Those are perfect individuals to go in this path.
Yeah, you were definitely a great mentor.
I was going to say, I remember, just when I did fellowship here, like you guys were, like everyone was so amazing. And I was like, wow, this is how you do research and have a clinic and how you can really scale this at a larger level. And I remember Googling you, Nisha, and somehow I found your CV. And I was like, how did all of this happen? And that's where I really started learning the whole alphabet soup of NIH grants. And I was like, this is like the path you take to get to A to B. And so anyways, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I definitely have looked at kind of your career and tried to, kind of go down similar pathways because you've been able to do such really cool stuff.
Thank you. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's just learning how you're able to develop a career like this. It's not by chance.
No, I mean
some of it is, but
there is a luck perspective, right? You never know. But I think if you want to do this kind of work and you're persistent and you are willing to, you will have ups and downs, right? There will be challenges. You can't expect everything to be handed to you at all. Yeah. I mean, I learned that from mentors early on. Yeah. But I think if you have good questions and you're persistent, I believe that there's a path forward. Yeah, we're still lucky. We're still lucky to be here and in America where we have NIH. And despite all the changes, I still really am optimistic that there's a path forward for all of us. I think we're all able to so far, even with everything. It's still working out.
Yeah, that's great. When you walk through Proctor now, with the front desk team, the fellows, the patients, does it feel like how it felt when we were back at 95 Kirkham, our original building, or is there something that is fundamentally different here?
It feels really different. I've always liked being in clinic, but I have to say that I think it feels better now than it ever has. Yeah, ever in the last couple decades.
In what way?
It's because of the people, because we have a great group of people now, and we were very small and we didn't have that before. And I mean, when I started, so it was Todd Margolis and then Ira Wong was here, a half a day a week or so. And it was great, right? But it wasn't what it is now, because now we have a lot of people. Yeah. We have a full team. We have optometrists. We have uveitis faculty. More than we have a number of uveitis faculty. We have plenty of faculty. We have 2 fellows in uveitis. 2 cornea fellows. We have so many people around. That is powerful. That's made the biggest difference in the clinic, and I've seen it gradually happen over time. And that I think is the biggest thing. I don't think this place now depends on anybody. It's a force because it has a number of people who are amazingly strong, and it's the whole operation and the team approach. And I'm really happy about it because that's the way I think care should. It's optimal that way. Yeah. And I think that's the way it is now. So you get that feeling from the front desk staff too. The front desk are amazing, right? They're part of the team. Yeah. Everyone says it. I have patients every single week comment to me about the entire experience from front to the techs to, until they see me. They comment on all aspects of it and say how they are not experiencing that in any other clinic or in other parts of medicine anymore. It's just it's been lost. Here, it's like from the time you walk in, it's just a special place. It just means caring. The front desk know the patients. They treat them, they know them. They ask about how they're doing. And from that moment on through the entire, they said the person who takes the photos, who we all know, and to every single person who sees them, they feel like they're cared for and that the whole team cares. We didn't have that before. We were working towards that, and we had a good clinic. But I think we are there now where we are living that kind of dream of having this type of model.
Yeah. For sure. 100%. I think patients do better because of it, too.
Yeah. Last question. Imagine there's a fellow, maybe, or an ophthalmology resident going through the AUS archives, listening to these podcasts. It's 2030, which is actually not that long from now. So there's somebody listening to this podcast. What's one thing that you want them to take from your career?
I would just say, just remember to enjoy the entire journey. Don't just. This is what life, it is about the day to day. It's about all the moments that we have each day. It's not about 5 years from now, I'll be assistant professor or I'll be associate and it's going to be better or it'll be easier or I'll be able to do something then. Like that kind of mentality of, at some point I will do this. At some point I will be able to maybe start this project. Just if you have an idea, I would say life goes by quickly, too quickly. There shouldn't be no barriers or walls that you put up artificially for why you can't do things. Just use each day to try to go after what you want to do, no matter what stage you're in. Don't say or don't put off your ideas or your dreams. Really try to work them in and work towards them every single day. There's a lot, I realize now how much I want to do, and I don't know how much time I'll have in terms of you can see I won't have 30 years, right? I won't. I have, but you realize there's not enough time to do all the things that we could possibly do that are so exciting. So definitely make use of a time and go for it. We have an amazing community. There's so many people around you. If you have cool ideas, don't just write them down and bury them. Try to make them happen, whether they be clinical or community related or research, related. We all have, I think a lot of young people have hopes and dreams, and then they go down a road and they just forget about them or they think it's not feasible or possible. But I just think, please, get out of that mentality and write them down and put them front and center in front of you and do something about them. Try.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that idea.
I'm going to take that home with me.
Yeah.
That is so
really
good.
Great. Well, that ends our second episode. Nisha, thank you for chatting with us. This was really great.
It's been a pleasure, especially with the two of you. I'm so proud of how both of you are doing and what you've done. It's true.
Thank you.
It's true. Honestly,
all because of you.
That's no, but you're all doing that for others, and this is part of it. It's great. I think this is part of our journey to continue this, right, for our field.
For sure.
But thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you.